It's time for another episode of Shop Night, where I make a gift for a deserving person in our community in 1 or 2 evenings using scrap around the shop. Hi, I'm Michael Fine, also known as Bohemond, with bootsbybohemond.com. So tonight is part 2 of Adreille's SCA boots for fighting in the SCA. So follow along, and if you want to learn more about how I got to this step, watch the previous episode, which is episode 2 of Shop Nights, and there you'll pick up how I got started. So here we go, Adreille's boots. All right, so we come at it. This is night number 2, and I started off already by sewing up the second boot. It took about 45 minutes, and so we're here about 4 hours and 45 minutes into our boot project, and I'm now going to talk to you about putting on the midsole. So this is 2 different types of midsole material that we can use for this project. This is an artificial recycled material that's vulcanized that can be used. And this is a 11-12 ounce prime leather. The tool I'm going to be using today will not take 10-11, and because of the shutdown I can't get the 6 or 7 I want. So we won't be using leather today, we'll be using the artificial for Adreille's midsole. So on my heel piece, it ends at the 6 count, or how I've counted them, here and here. I'm going to mark those for alignment purposes to use later on. So I can cut this out with a pair of leather shears, but I don't like dulling my leather shears on this material, and I do have a cutting wheel called a 5-in-1, which I will use. I will be removing the line because the paper pattern was good. Here we go, my glue is ready, and I've made certain that this is the instep, so this is the strap side, and the outside will get the buckle. My seam lines up with my alignment mark, and I just apply pressure with my fingers. As we come around the heel, you can see my alignment mark, and my seam lines up once again. We're near the toes, so now I'll start boxing. And now we're ready for sewing. We can use hand tools. Now, the way that I had done it for a number of years and still like to do it is I would have pre-punched all of these holes around the perimeter of these pieces and the heel piece, and then each hole would have lined up with the midsole because I would have punched the midsole as well, and that would have been a hole count thing, and I could really work well with that. But I chose to help you all out by not doing it that because that's tricky sometimes. The next is to use a sewing awl. With this, I don't think it's the best choice. The next is to use this roller to make your marks for where your punch is going to go, and you can use a triangle punch or an awl or even that round awl, and you can mark your holes and just sew it. But my 4-hole punch is going to work perfectly. Here's one of the tools you can use to mark that 1/4-inch line. It's a stitch beveler. It's often used to carve a line in veg tan to make the stitching go to be the same or below the surface of the sewed material. But I can use this in my oil tan to just scratch. Straight line. That my holes all make straight lines, which is great. I love the 4-hole punch because I was able to make this corner with the 4-hole punch, even though it's, effectively 1 inch at a time in a straight line. It looks curved, and it will be curved and comfortable. I'm going to use a sailmaker's palm. It's basically a thimble, goes on your palm and has a honeycomb design. And even though I pre-punched my holes, it's going to make this go so much easier. Now I'm pushing the loop towards in the boot. I left my 2 needle lengths. Now here's the thing with this artificial material for the sole, is that if I pull the thread too tight, I can cut through it. So I want to be careful not to do that. So I do want to keep tight tension, that's important, but I don't want to use the thread to cut that rubber. Again, this is really hard sewing towards the camera. This is not how I hold my project at all when I'm doing it myself. So this is quite the interesting angles. So please have mercy, and maybe this is where you bust my chops. Maybe this is the spot. It's like, hey Mike, what are you doing? Well folks, they promised us smell-o-vision in the 70s, and I'm so glad we don't have it now. My shop is 82 degrees, and I had to put the hustle on to make my 4-hour time limit for tonight's work. So here we are. You can see we have whipped the stitches in really quickly, not hard. French hammer. Just go flatten them out a bit. These are the Vibram soles that I'm going to put on the boot. It's going to have a heel, so I'll have to cut them. And you notice that I've sanded them pretty well so they accept the glue. This is 18 iron, which an iron equals 1/54th of an inch. If I'm wrong, don't troll me on that, but it's really close. So what we have here is a 3/8 material. And it's all drawn out. It's smooth both sides. So I'm going to use Barge's thinner. So this is all the oil and the lubrication from the rollers that roll this material in the factory where it's made. This left over. If you don't remove all this stuff, you can't get a good bond with your glue. Now what I've done is I've taken my tread and I've cut, and what I've done is I've planned to cut so that the pieces fit like this, covering the toe I've pre-measured. One of the things you want to notice about the heel is I stacked it up with a 12 iron heel that is a standard heel for the shoe repair industry. I just sanded the other side. I have attached it, and I didn't sand the sides because I want you to see all the layers. Tacky, hardly wet at all. Take the boot, place it on my material. Now at this stage, I have 3 tools in shop to do this job. One's a motorized pedal auto solar that has a pincher, and it's motor driven, and it would just pinch this at the right pressure. That 3-in-1 has a spring loaded version. That's the tool I showed you earlier for cutting the midsole. I could use an anvil, but everybody has a table. So I'm going to show you how to fix this properly with a table and my hammer. So now that I have my edge looking really good here, I could put this over a metal last, invert it, and then hammer on the bottom. But you don't have one of those either. So what I'm going to do is, because I have a really good contact cement and I know I'm getting good contact, I'm just going to put my hand inside the boot and put pressure on the inside. And that actually will give me a good enough bond. It's not ideal, but it's what you probably have at home that you can do. So I have a brand new sharp blade. I have special knives for this, but you don't have the special knives, so I'm going to use this knife. I'm going to follow the edge, keeping my blade perpendicular with the boot, follow it around, remove the material. Here we can see all the layers that I've put together. We can see the leather layer, we can see the midsole layer, we can see the crepe high density neoprene that'll make it comfortable to wear. We can see the heel piece that I put in that's high density recycled material, and then we can see the vulcanized rubber finished sole right here. And you notice that they're not smooth. And we notice that, so what we're going to do now is we're going to sand it, and we're going to sand all these leathers and all these rubbers together so that it makes a uniform side. You'll barely be able to see all the different layers when I'm done. All right, so here I am, folks, at 3 hours and 55 minutes. I'm dripping wet. It's really hot in here today, but we made it. We made our time. So here's our finished boot. What I'm going to do in the remaining 5 minutes is I'm going to edge coat, and after the edge coat, I'm going to apply a new layer of oil to the oil tent, and it will cause for the all the scratches and scuffs that we introduced while working and that were on the hide originally, that we still used when we cut out our patterns. All those are going to vanish, and Adrielle's going to have a really awesome boot, and when she gets it, she will stuff it, the toe, with her favorite wool, and then she will put in her favorite inserts, and she'll be ready to go next time we have a crazy outdoor event with all kinds of difficult terrain. Hey, you made it to the end. It's my hope that you've been inspired to make something. It's my hope that you might have learned something. And my hope that you'll join in the comments section below and let me know if you want to see more. Thanks for joining in Shop Nights.